Annually, 115 million animals are used worldwide in experiments. These include a wide variety of field testing such as behavioral, biomedical, and cognitive research, along with so many others. However, it is becoming more and more questionable how effective this mode of scientific research is. In this mini-lecture, I will specifically focus on the effectiveness of animal experimentation regarding scientific exploration. Science, as we all probably can agree, should be evidence-based, but animal experimentation as a means of informing human well-being isn't held to this standard. For example, humans with diseases aren't living in cages and exposed to experimental drugs and procedures with no conceptual understanding of their situation. Human diseases are usually artificially induced into animals, but the immense difficulty in producing anything approaching the intricacy of human diseases in animal models limits their usefulness. And with that, it's just as difficult to produce reliable outcomes, and these outcomes can cause human harm. Take, for example, non-human primates, or NHPs. They are used instead of mice and other traditional experimental animals because it is proposed that they will better simulate human results. So, in 2006, mice, rabbits, rats, and NHPs were given TGN-1412, an immunomodulatory drug, which produced no undesirable effects in these animals. And additionally, these same NHPs were given 500 times the human dose for 4 consecutive weeks, and again, none of these NHPs produced any ill effects. When it was given to 6 human volunteers, it had the opposite effect. Minutes after injection, all of the volunteers had a severe adverse reaction, which essentially led to systemic organ failure. This is not an isolated event. Events such as these demonstrate why it logically might make sense that NHPs and other species are used, but are actually poor models for supplying clinical evidence that would be useful to human well-being. Additionally, it's also worth noting that by the means of science, we know that biologically there is only a degree of difference between us and them. And it is also recognized that most animals are conscious, feel pain, and undergo the experience of suffering, which are the most profound similarities between us. Because the truth is, animal experimentation suffers from a dilemma of internal logic. Either animals are not like us, as we don't use humans instead for these animal-based experiments, and thus there is no basis for carrying out these experiments to conclude any reliable findings that would lead us to conclusive evidence regarding the human condition, or else they are just like us, our fellow beings, as they are used to mimic the human form, in which case we should not carry on with these experiments as we would find them abhorrent to carry out on humans. But science doesn't have to stop because animal experimentation is no longer a suitable option for scientific research. There are so many examples of human-based technologies that are increasingly becoming better alternatives for animal testing, such as human organs grown in a lab, human organs on chip, or cognitive computing technologies, all of which can be our future. So I'm not here trying to bash the progress of science. The goal of science is admirable. It can't be denied the incontestable virtues and advantages of improving the health and longevity of human beings. Yet it is still tainted by the persistent evaluation of animals that are commonly non-representative of human diseases. But there's a real truth to solving this. We, as scientists, can change these sort of inhumane and illogical practices because science has the potential to move in a direction that is more efficient, effective, and ethical.